Welcome to Pat's Soundbytes IGTV. Keeping new music alive is what I do on the radio and now on video. Conducting live chats with the artists and learning the stories behind their latest release and also playing their new video. Special thanks today to my sponsor Go-Go Tuners for all guitar players looking for a focus on ease of use, readability, durability, and accuracy. Look no further. The Go-Go Tuner is the choice of many touring professionals and a favorite of casual players. Go-Go's signature green you're in and red you're out screen makes tuning quick and easy. For more information, go to the website at gogotuners.com. Special thanks to WBXO Classic Rock Radio Redefined, allowing me to keep new music alive on the radio airways on the Pat Show every Sunday from 5 to 8 Eastern Standard Time. Only on WBXO Classic Rock Redefined. And a big thank you to Mr. Evan Balzer for allowing me to use his amazing instrumental that you're hearing right now. It's called Trails. To find out more incredible music by Evan, go to his website at evanbalzer.com. And my special guests today, well, they are a dynamic couple that are taking the blues world by storm. They're known as Alias Smith and Jones, Sal Carolei and Renee Fleming. And their CD Hit and Run is a killer, which features the Button Men. This is kind of a mini reunion for me because I graduated high school with Sal and we haven't spoken and seen each other in 40 years. We're going to play the video for Hot Box Boogie off the CD Hit and Run, and a whole lot of fun and a whole lot of blues with Alias Smith and Jones, Sal and Renee right here on Pat Soundbytes IGTV.
Okay.
Hey, live on Pat Soundbytes IGTV, keeping new music alive on the radio and video. And I got a great couple here next to me this way and behind me that way. Well, they go by Alias Smith and Jones, but I know them as Sal and Renee, and they're kick-ass blues rockers hanging out in New York City. And they got a great CD out called Hit and Run. I'm blocking Sal, I'm blocking Renee. Great to see you guys, man. God.
Great to see you too. Thanks for having us.
Oh my God, of course, man. I'm like, Sal, what? A harmonica player, blues player. As we were saying, it's been a long time. Sal and I went to school together and graduated out of the big Arlington High School back in 1980.
Don't date us.
1880. Well, here, let me just get this out of the way. I'll just get this out of the way, Sal. Where is it? Okay, share. There we go. Two music giants.
Oh no!
Music giants that nobody.
Oh my gosh!
Now look at us. We look better than ever. Sal with hair. Pat is auditioning for Menudo, I think.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. I said I gotta take a picture of that and put that out on our video here. Yep. The world, here we are, Sal, kicking ass and taking names.
I love it.
Oh, unbelievable. Look at him. Look at that stud, Renee. Look at that look.
I know. I was just sitting here thinking, what a hottie.
Look at the hottie. He's got that look, man.
We lost.
And I got my hand in my pocket at Vassar College Chapel. I have no idea what I'm doing. I borrowed my cousin's clothes. Actually, he came up from the Bronx. And I was just wearing his jeans and stuff. And he's a big fashion guy. God bless his soul. And he's like, I'm wearing his clothes.
That's cool.
It's great. You look like you get ready to take action.
Oh, yeah, I was taking action around. I'm like, what is this thing? So tell me, how did this all start? We'll start with you, Renee, ladies first. How did you know that you wanted to get into music? Did you start mom and dad, church, choir? Where did it all start for you?
Actually, it started, according to my family, my grandmother used to always tell the story how I started singing when I was like 4 or 5 years old. And I just the favorite song I used to always sing. Well, my two songs to sing when I was 4 and 5 were Frank Sinatra's "That's Life"
Wow.
and Jackie Wilson's "You Better Stop Dogging Me Around."
Wow.
And, yeah, I just
That's
like
4 and 5.
yeah, and like I knew what that meant. Anyway, but I used to like pretend and sing into the hairbrush, and then I started singing with my brothers and sisters. We used to sing together because I had three siblings at the time, and then I started singing in the neighborhood. And by the time I got into junior high and high school, I was singing at different school functions, and I just kept singing. I grew up in Michigan. I'm originally from Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky. And I used to just, in Michigan, I was singing at things in high school and junior high. I used to sing a lot of Billie Holiday back then.
Wow.
I still am, but Billie Holiday, it was Billie Holiday and Sarah Vaughan when I was in high school, and a lot of Shaka Khan, Rufus with Shaka Khan. And and then I sang for a while. I took a break. Had some things going on, so I took a little pause. And then when I got moved to New York, I started this show because I missed singing. And so I wrote a show because I'm a writer and an actor too. And I wrote a solo show based on my summers I spent down in Alabama when I was a little kid, called From the Front Porch. And, I knew Sal played harp. He was playing with his cousin off and on. And I was just like, okay, will you be in this band and play? And he was like, yeah, and we put a band together. And then from that, we've had been fortunate enough to work with one fantastic group of musicians after another, and this, they've all been amazing. So yeah, and we put a couple CDs out, EPs out. And then this time Sal just said, I'm going all out. And he was able to pull together some amazing musicians for this CD.
I see that, the Button Men. These wonderful musicians right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, growing up in the South in little Alabama and Kentucky kind of brings that soulful Southern roots of, that maybe that Delta blues vibe. And then you go to, Michigan, which is, Motown, Bob Seger, Smokey Robinson. I mean, even Alice Cooper, the variety of music up in the Detroit, Michigan area. I mean, I get goosebumps thinking of that. I've always wanted to get up there.
Well, it's ironic. The first band I sang with in junior high when I lived in Michigan was a harp cover band. So I was singing Ann and Nancy Wilson music.
Wow.
It was fun. It was cool. I love just about every genre of music. I really enjoy. So, but I always keep coming back to the blues over and over again.
Well, if we didn't have the blues, there'd be no music. I mean, Chuck Berry, even Muddy Waters and, B.B. King and Albert King and all, I could just go on. And having the luxury and just the blessing of hanging out with Billy Gibbons. And Billy just gave me a 101 lesson on the blues. And I'm like, he goes, you got to go back. And he goes, I know you're a classic rock guy, but you really got to go back. And I did. And I listened to a lot of 50s and 60s. And I'm like, it's pretty funny that there's a lot of bands that are playing those hits that, that were around back then that, we didn't know what's going on, but oh my goodness. I got to go down to New Orleans. I besides my 911 career, I had a consulting business, and my brother and I we renovated a whole 911 center just outside of New Orleans. So every 2 weeks we were flying down there, and just the music scene was just forget the homes, the architect, the whole vibe of the culture. Just going to a club and hearing, that Louis Armstrong, that jazz, that been to Chicago a couple of times, and you get that whole that whole vibe. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool. But that's incredible. That's great, Renee. That's awesome. When that guy next to you, that hubby, man, that handsome stud that we just showed, Sal, when did you get into this harp thing? I mean, you didn't do this we didn't do this in high school.
You know, I mean, the thing was, I was playing sports, and my grades were they were so. My other brothers, my grandfather, everybody they were musicians.
Really?
But, yeah, you know, like my grandfather was a valve trombone player in Harlem, and all my siblings, they were all sax, clarinet. But my grades were not great, so my mom's like, either you got to pick, either you want to do band or you want to do sports, and I'm like, well, I love baseball, football, that kind of stuff. So I went to a pawn shop in Poughkeepsie, and one of these like little marine bands was in the window. And it was like $5, and I'm like, well, I think I could probably play that thing. Looking at it, it's a small thing, whatever. But believe me, I think a lot of people look at a harmonica and go, oh yeah, it's easy to play, and it took some time. I remember my dad was like, please. He would close the door. It was like, you're calling cats in, with that music playing. And but my younger brother was a record. He loved records, and he brought home a Muddy Waters with it was called Hard Again, and it was such a great James Cotton on harmonica. I was like, oh my God, listen to this beautiful, dirty harmonica sound. I mean, I heard Jagger and Jay Giles, Magic Dick and stuff, but when I heard that, I was like, wow, I was hooked. And I just started digging into finding, like you said, we knew the rock and rollers, but we didn't really, there were on PDH there was all these bands that were coming in town. Like, I think Muddy Waters might have played Civic Center, I don't remember, but it was like James Cotton, there was Bonnie.
Yeah, James Cotton, Paul Butterfield.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, right across the river from us.
Yeah, so I started digging into it, and one of my cousin was working at a record store, so he would find some blues for me, and you got to listen to this. This is a great track. He actually was like, I'll let you get on stage if you can play Wamba Jamba by Magic Dick. And that that's a tough harp track to play when you're just starting out. So but that's kind of how I started. And actually, when I got to School of Visual Arts, one of my editing teachers, another guy that I was going to school with, we were both kind of playing harmonica, learning. And the editing teacher brought me a harmonica book. He goes, I'm giving it to you because you're at least bending the notes. Your buddy, he's got to go back to basic harmonica. But so there was so many, like Dan Lynch's was down here, which was a really cool blues club, and Manny's Car Wash. So
I miss BB King's. I mean, I would take the train and walk over to BB King's and guarantee to see somebody good.
Yeah,
always.
Well, back in the '80s, I mean, there was Chicago Blues, Dan Lynch's, and some of the best players in New York City that would start at like Sugar Blue was there. I mean, it was a who's who of, especially, and it was a small little place, but you could see some of the best shows, but it was a tight, maybe, I don't know if it had 100 people occupancy, but it was cool. So I was like, I didn't do a lot of jams back then because, there was just, like I said, when you see Sugar Blue or Adam Gusso get up, you're like, I don't want to even pull this thing out. So
I got to meet James Montgomery. James, he's big in the Northeast. He lives in Rhode Island, Massachusetts area, and he's a big harp player. And I got to hang out with them and introduce him at Daryl's house. And all of a sudden, he pulls out this suitcase. I'm thinking, harmonica. That's it. One. I'm not thinking, one for every note, E, G. And he's like going through them all. I'm quick to go practice. And I'm like, what? You have them in case one like breaks? And he looks at me, he goes, no. And he pulls out this whole, and he's got an old amp, and he, and he's like, gets into it. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, I never knew that. I thought, you had one harmonica and you cover all the notes. And I got a history on it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this is
Oh,
Yeah.
pretty
Well,
cool.
you should see Sal has an old Korean War
machine gun belt.
machine gun belt that
And I put all
he.
my harmonicas, from A to G and the flats and the sharps.
Yeah.
It's starting to wear out a little bit, but I've had it forever. But yeah,
And it's
in
really
the dark,
cool.
in the dark when you're fumbling around for the right key, A through G, so it keeps it all in order.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think it's great. I didn't know that. I think I knew you played like football and baseball up here, but I
Yeah.
never knew you the music side of things. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. I
Yeah.
always wanted to get down to the city. I said I would get out of here. I'm from the Bronx. I got to get down to the city. That's where all the action is. And look where I'm still in Poughkeepsie and Polk. But once I get in the city, I'll be on the last train out. And my wife's good with all that. She's like, you go do what you got to do. And I'm on the last train out. But no, this is cool. Alias, where did you come up with a name? Alias Smith and Jones. I know I saw here Renee and the Derelicts.
Yes.
Right? And that was the CDs that you put out before, right? Before
Yeah.
you kind of took a breath and regroup and said, we're doing Alias Smith and Jones. What's the story behind the name?
Well, we were trying to figure out a fun name, but something that would stick with people. And we went through a whole bunch of names. And one day I was like, I don't know, I was thinking about that old TV show and how much I loved that show, Alias. And the other thing was, I was like, I don't want it to be my name up front again this time. I wanted to be something for both of us. And then we went round and round about, well, I don't want my name up front either. I don't want my, and then finally was like, well, let's just be Alias something. And then I was like, Alias Smith and Jones, like the TV show. And that was it. Yeah.
I think there's a couple shows, actually. There was a Western back in the day that we were thinking of, but we got some reviews in London, and they were like, there was another TV show called Alias Smith and Jones in Europe, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's there's a steakhouse in Long Island, so sometimes they go to play us, but they tag the
Steakhouse.
The steakhouse. Check out their website. Oh, they have steak and onions.
So we could go and sing and we eat for free.
Right? Yes, there we go. That'll work.
Talk to me about the songwriting process. Either one of you. I know you wrote a bunch of the songs on Hit and Run, and I fell in love with the album or the CD. I got to say, reading the press release that funky, raw, sultry blues. I mean, the awesome write-ups that you got in a few of the blues magazines. I mean, that's got to make you feel like people appreciate what we're doing here. I mean, we got something here, like a lot of other people, but you got to feel real good about yourselves at this point in time.
It's interesting because we finished the CD not too long before the pandemic hit, and it hadn't been mastered or final. We just gotten final mixes on the songs, and then the pandemic hit, and it was like, oh no. We were kind of stuck for a bit. And so the reviews were really a really wonderful thing, because in the midst of all of this going on, it was like, oh, but look, someone's listening to our music. Someone's playing our music. Someone's reviewing it. So, it was kind of like a lifeline for a bit, to have that happen.
It had to be like the biggest challenge, and everyone that I interviewed over the last year or so. Do we put out the new thing, but we can't promote it on live? Mm-hmm. But I'm the guy. I want the new music. I'm like, no. People are home. They're gyrating to it. They're like, give me more. So when you guys get on stage, everybody should know all the tracks that when you go, okay, and this is something off of our new album, and they're not going to take a piss and get a drink. They go, oh, I know this one. Yeah. So it's like a double-edged sword, but I think you're right, Renee. I think it's great that, because a lot of people held back. And I think
we decided to go ahead. Yeah. Because Sal was debating about moving forward, and I was like, nope, we got to do it. Because we did all that work, and it was like, yes. And then what was really kind of fun was we shot the 3 videos from this CD during the pandemic. So it was pretty crazy to do that as well, you know?
Well, Hotbox, she was still sick from COVID, actually.
Yeah.
When we were doing, she had to take a break while we were, I mean, she was pretty bad for a bit, you know, the beginning of the pandemic. And so Hotbox, she was like kind of, she didn't have all her stamina. And
Yeah.
she was, you know, I was like, you all right? You want to take a bit? Yeah, let's get through it. We'll do it. Yeah, we shot that portion of her singing and, you know, doing the harp in the living room. The rest had been shot at the studio that we had recorded it at, 30 Below, which is on 30th Street. Rogue Guitar. Down below, they have a great little intimate studio that we had like one of our film friends come down and, you know, shoot some stuff for it, so we could kind of cut it together.
And just to have it for archival purposes, and
Yeah.
who knew, you know, it's like, we don't know if we'll need to use it for something. And we did. We used it for a lot of things. And the other 2 videos we shot on iPhone.
Yeah.
And we had the one song, You Ain't the One, the guys in the band filmed themselves in their home while we were all on lockdown and sent us the footage. And because Sal works in film and went to film school, he knows how to edit. So he did all the
Oh,
editing.
perfect. Now I get you plenty of work of my own to pass editing too.
That's great.
Yeah.
And who would ever think that Scott Hall, another guy
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we went to school,
Just gonna
mastered it. I mean, that's
Well, you know, I seen him on Facebook. I didn't know what he did. I'm like, Scott, so you're in the music business? He's like, yeah, I own a recording studio. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I go, well, you know, we have this stuff that we've been sitting on for a month or 2 because of the pandemic. He goes, I'm kind of slow, you know, send it up. I'll see what I can do. And I mean, Scott, I looked at, found his credits, and I'm like, wow, he's worked with like everybody. I'm like, so it was a blessing to have him. You know.
One of the DJs that at our radio station invited him up to interview him right after they were coming on at the end of my show. So Scott shows up, and I'm like, why do I know this guy? And I know the name. And I hung out when they started, and I'm like, really? Dude, we went to school together. And I said, what have you been doing? He goes, if I had listened to another Whitesnake album, because Whitesnake remastered their whole catalog.
Oh, wow.
And it's funny because I watched David Coverdale open like the whole brand new box, and he credits Scott for the remaster and everything, which was really cool. So talk to me about the songwriting. Uh-oh, we got company?
We just have to make sure we have a little rodent, a squirrel, that's decided to make our balcony his home, and we hear movement outside. So Sal can start to talk. Do you want to go look? And
I'll go look.
Okay, I'll talk to you about songwriting because we're trying to keep him. He wants to make a nest. He keeps coming back to our balcony to make a nest, and we're sitting here, and as you're talking, all of a sudden we both hear the scratching. And like something's moving around outside, and we're like, oh.
That sounds like a new song, Renee.
I know, the Squirrel Nut Blues. It's like
Squirrel Nut Blues. I love it. Is songwriting therapeutic for you, Renee, when you sit down and say, all right, Sal, what are we going to attack here? And does Sal put the riff out first, or how does this work for you two?
It goes different ways. I mean, sometimes when I'm credited with the music part as well as the lyrics, because I do all the lyrics to the originals, but when I'm credited with any of the music part, it's because I've come up with the melody, and I don't write music, but what I can do, we've been very fortunate to work with these amazing musicians. I go in and I say, you guys, I got a song. And I sing it. I sing the melody. I sing it. We work out the changes, the bridges together. We do all of that as a band. And that's the way it works when I come up with a song. And that can happen anywhere. Like Hotbox Boogie was something I like woke up in the morning singing it, and I was like, okay, that's a song. And then I just sat down and said, write the words real quick. And I have to do that. For a while, I still do sleep with the little recorder by the bed.
You and a lot of others.
Yeah, as soon as it hits, I got to get up and do it and get up and write it, because I cannot tell you how many songs I've lost because I'm like, I'll remember it. And then I wake up in the morning, it's like, it's totally gone. Mm-hmm. And the other way we write is if Sal does the music, he has tons of guitars, and he plays.
He's a guitar player too?
I'm a guitar hoarder.
Learning so much about a guy that sat in homeroom for 5 years behind me. I got no idea what he does besides make pizza.
He is a guitar hoarder. That's constant. I'm always like, you've got 32 guitars, but you play harmonica. It's a running joke.
I used to have more cables and things than anybody. I was like the Boy Scout. Like our guitar player, you need a pick, you need a cable, you know. Like Sal, you have more crap than everybody. You have more amps than anybody in the band. What's going on? But I think around 2001, my mom had passed, and she left some money, and I always loved slide guitar and stuff like that. So I went down to, I guess it was 23rd Street. They have a really cool guitar shop. And I walked in, it was like a 1928, 30 steel guitar. It was so cool. So I had a pick and a slide. I started playing a little bit. I'm not great. I'm the basic, but the guy goes, you just picked the best sounding guitar here. And he pulls out a Rolling Stone cover. I guess Dave Matthews had posed with it. He goes, so you might as well keep this. It's your guitar now. And so I write a lot of stuff in open tuning, with slide.
Wow.
And, I'll come up bass lines. I think the first song that we did together, which is Long Time Child, was the first. It was like a slide guitar bass riff that I came up with. And anyway, our guitar players, we've been blessed to have the baddest guitar players that can play slide and standard tuning. So we give it to them. I'll usually put stuff in GarageBand, and put a drum beat down and a little bit of, whatever, just so they get the feel that it can, really do the right thing to it, So
when you go to the studio, you rent a U-Haul, Renee, and he takes all his toys with him.
No, it used to feel like that when we go to gigs. It would be like, oh my God. But now Sal simplified a lot. And, for me, I just bring my mic. I bring my mic and one cable, and I'm like, I'm good.
I do the same thing too. It just got too much. All these pedals and stuff. I was at a gig where I had just bought a pedal, and I didn't realize I needed the guy that built the pedal, his, particular guitar chord. So we're on stage. We're doing a blues show down in South Orange, New Jersey. And the lead singer, I was playing with Eliza Niels, and she goes, Sal, hit it. And I hit the stomp box, and I got nothing. And I'm like, oh my God. So she tosses me a mic. I start playing the solo. And out of the corner of my eye, a friend who was playing ahead of us, a harmonica player, I see he goes, harmonica player down. He's lugging his amp over. Little did I know, it was just a stupid cable, So I decided, just go through the PA, play a, vocal mic, and it is what it is,
Mm-hmm. And when we were Renee and the Derelicts, some of the other guys, at least one of the other guys, he would bring in songs too, and we would just write songs, because we were really fortunate because we could rehearse at the Gibson Guitar studio here, and we would rehearse a couple times a week because we had time like that back then, and that wasn't really that that long ago. It was, now that I think about it. But anyway, it's been a while. But anyway, we would get together, and at the end of a rehearsal session, we'd have like, we would have gone over a couple covers, but we would have written a new song or two, you know, just bang them out like that. And that was always fun, you know.
Hotbox we've been doing Hotbox since 2010, 11. I think that was a Derelicts tune, you know, and Longtime Child.
Yeah.
I think the newest songs on this album are Gone.
You Ain't the One.
You Ain't the One, and
Hit and Run.
Hit and Run was the last tune we did. I had some kind of I was playing in the park with the slide guitar, and then we brought it to Jack, one of the guitar players on the album, and he did a great job on it, you know.
Well, and it was funny because when we first finished it, it was really hard rocking, and it sounded a lot like You Ain't the One, and we were like, Sal was like, can you change that and make it? And we both love New Orleans, and we had just gone down there in September, and so Sal was like, can you give it kind of a New Orleans feel? And he did, and it was really cool. And that song, and sometimes with songs with lyrics, Sal will come to me and say something like, well, like with Hit and Run, he was like, I just keep hearing this thing about hit and run. I don't know what it means. But and I was like, okay. Then I sit down and bang out some lyrics.
When you look at your catalog of music and you put the tracks together for Hit and Run, your wonderful CD here, does it, I'm not a musician, but does it, you put it in order? So like for me, the listener knows like to follow your journey on the tracks, you know, is there an order that, you know, you go, this one goes first, this one goes second, this one goes third. So when you crank it up in the car, you're following everywhere that you guys were going.
I think we'll at least we tried to come up with like a cool.
I thought you guys did a phenomenal job. That's why I wanted to ask the importance behind putting the right songs in the right path of the tracks.
Yeah, like an order that we felt like would take them on a sonic journey.
Right.
A particular type of sonic journey. We did think about that because we had a couple of songs we shifted around a couple of times. But we always, because we didn't know that we were going to start it off with Hit and Run. We were like, well, it's the title track. It should be the last one. And we kept moving things around. And finally we were like, no, we need to start with Hit and Run.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
What's the game plan? When can Pat come down and go to New York and see Alias Smith and Jones?
Well, we're trying to put some things together. My hope and intention, because we've been talking about this, is to do a couple of things towards the end of June. Getting some gigs booked. It's still kind of, dicey because indoor playing still makes me a little nervous yet, but still trying to figure it out. And then hopefully, because we have substantial airplay in Europe. It's amazing. Croatia, from Croatia to France, Italy, Spain, Greece. We're getting airplay. The UK plays us quite frequently. The Netherlands, Belgium.
Nothing wrong with that, Renee. Let them play it.
So we love it. But because of that, I am hoping that we can put together a streaming concert that can go international. And I've got to talk to someone about how that works. And like, that would be the culmination of like doing a gig. And because the Button Men don't all play on every song, we have to figure out who can play which gig when,
Just the bands that I talk to, when they do that, I mean, the hardest part is they were always afraid of the product is the sound. With this whole internet, different mics, different compressions. I mean, Sal would know more about it than I do, but you don't want to just do it to do it. It's got to be perfect. And they would only do like maybe 5 songs. Just enough to, this is what we're working on. Love you guys. A couple old ones and maybe a new one, but nothing that goes crazy. Just enough to get out there, and they do it live either on YouTube or, at a studio and somebody puts it out there. But that's the biggest, I think, challenge is making sure you got the right sound people, which is hard to internet thing to make it work right.
Yep, and just deal and people not only with sound, but the tech people who know how to address lags and weirdness and connectivity. So that's like a big, huge goal to work towards. And what we are talking about, what I would like to do, and we've been talking about this, is doing that streaming in a studio where we have
absolutely
a lot of technology that we can, if we need it, we have it. So.
No. I totally agree with you. Well, I'm certainly, since we can play whatever we want, we're going to add Hit and Run on our rotation and get it out here and start playing it up here and supporting you guys as much as possible. Where can our listeners and fans purchase this wonderful CD, guys? Alias Smith and Jones, NYC.com?
Yeah, they can get it directly from us. And downloads if they just want,
No, they got to buy. So when we go see a show, you guys can autograph it. You can't autograph Spotify. No. They can download it, spend $1.29, but I would also encourage everybody to buy it.
We didn't do a big pressing because we weren't even sure if CDs are really, who's listening to CDs anymore, but it's, the DJs over in Europe, they were like, please send it, a hard copy. And we're like, okay. We thought that at this point, nobody was really doing the CD thing anymore.
I enjoy opening, reading the notes, who wrote the song, who produced it, what studio, like an old kid opening up the old albums and pulling out the sleeves and reading about it. My Dropbox is so, I got like 4 hard drives of downloads. Here's our new CD, and I'm like, okay, can you say, I'll buy it, just send it whatever.
Well, I was the same way. When I designed the CD, I'm like, well, what would people like to see? So, that in mind when I was, putting the artwork together and everything, that's, I'm
well, you got everything going on. You got the sexy lady and you got this badass. You got everything but the machine gun. I thought you were like a mobster, like coming out of a poker game.
That's funny.
We had fun with that. This was all Sal's conceptual idea, and he did the artwork. We had a really fantastic photographer. His name is Ishmael Fernandez, and he's fantastic. And as quiet as it's kept, we shot those photos in places where you ain't supposed to shoot. So we were doing them like run and gun and, hurry up, quit, get the shot, run. So it was
Griddle, what is it? Griddle, I can't even talk. Gorilla, hurry up, take the picture.
Oh, Gorilla,
here comes a taxi, get out the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love New York City. You bought the permits. I know you did.
Don't let security come. Security.
Well, guys, what am I missing? What's on the bucket list for what's next for Alias Smith and Jones?
We were talking about doing the next CD might be mainly covers, but going back to some of those people we were talking about earlier, looking at some of the folks who really originated way back when the blues, and getting that feel. Like we did that with one of the songs on here. We played with this amazing guitarist. His name is Doc French, David Doc French. Going Down to the River. It's a Mississippi Fred McDowell song. And that was just, and I would love to cover some Lead Belly songs.
Well, I got a guy in Muscle Shoals, right off the Tennessee River, and Etta James and everybody played in this place. So if you need to go to a studio, and I can hook you up with the Swampers of Muscle Shoals.
Oh my God, yes.
Let me know. Spooner Odom, Clayton Ivy. Oh my goodness, I got the guys for you.
I know who they are. I know who they are. I love
David Hood from Nashville to produce it, and let me tell you.
Oh my God.
Yeah, my buddy.
Well, we're down.
He's down there.
We're gonna check that box and say absolutely.
We're holding you up to this, Pat. So you let me know when you want. You let me know, and I can certainly do my best to hook that up for you.
All right.
Oh God, yes. Oh yeah, because that's what we're talking about. Is that feeling?
Yeah, really, really acoustic. Not not overproduced, just really down and dirty,
Raw
kind of stuff. Yeah,
there's something about that place that you can just feel it.
yeah.
I can't wait to get down there. But my buddy's down there, and he records down there, and he works with all those fantastic legends, and it's incredible. So he says, "You got to come down here. You got to." I said, "I will." So it's interesting that you. In fact, speaking of Billy Gibbons, I just interviewed Billy a week ago, and Billy has a solo album out, and he went to Cuba for his first album. Mundo, and he made it like a Latin Tito Fuente blues rock. He's a blues guy, blues rock, even though he loves ZZ Top, but he's a blues guy. Don't be fooled. And then his second album, he went back to Texas. He's from Houston, Texas. But the last one here, Hardware, he went to Joshua Tree in the desert. So at the end of the conversation, and I forgot to ask him the question, it was a quick 20 minutes because he's got a bunch of other people behind me. I said, I forgot to ask you, Billy, recommendation number 4, Muscle Shoals. And he loved that. He's like, oh, yeah. He goes, I drive from Memphis right through Muscle Shoals. And he goes, there's everybody, the Rolling Stones, all the old blues, Bob Dylan, everybody, Etta James. I mean, the list goes on. You think Memphis, right? Beale Street. But
no,
I think the real place is down in Muscle Shoals.
Definitely. Absolutely. Muscle Shoals. Cool. Oh
well, time to rock. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation as much as I have. We got to, should we show?
In person,
yes, absolutely. Let's show these wonderful rock stars one more time so everybody can see. There we are. The best of the best right there.
Love it.
Love you guys. Thank you for your time. Alias Smith and Jones, Sal and Renee. It's time to rock a little Alias Smith and Jones from their great CD, Hit and Run. And this is Hot Box Boogie on Pat's Soundbytes IGTV. Go and buy this today.
Thank you.
Something that makes you move your feet. Talk about this thing, baby, it's oh so sweet. We're going back to the past and dig it out of the grave. Bring back a little memory that you might want to save. Get ready to move, I'll make you shift and turn. Got a little boogie guaranteed to burn. I call it Hot Box Boogie. I got a Hot Box Boogie, baby. Box boogie, baby. I got your hot box boogie, baby. I got a hot box boogie. I wanna bring it home to you. Well, it's something kind of tasty, it's something kind of sweet. It's something to make you wanna dig in deep. Something that makes you wanna scream and shout. Something that'll make you wanna bring it all out. We're talking Hot Box Boogie, baby. I got a Hot Box Boogie now. We got a Hot Box Boogie. Gonna bring it home to you. Ooh, baby, yeah, come on. Ooh, baby, I hope you're all alone. Come on, baby, let me rock your world. Let me show you I'm a woman, not a girl.